Alright, time for another DraftScience video presentation. I'll do a comment and try to move on from there, if possible. Just this typical naysaying, nitpicking nonsense that just isn't focused at all, doesn't say anything about anything real. Any of the real arguments made about the fact that the double slit experiment basically does prove that there's no such thing as force interference, analyzed rationally, that momentum is everything about energy. See, that I hope to get to eventually, maybe a Ken Wheeler video, because this isn't even complicated. This isn't even challenging. And the whole, kinetic energy formula 1/2 mv squared has no rational history in physics. It's not an experimentally proven formula in any way. It's just absolute junk. And you can't say that, though. See, calling it junk is too aggressive, too mean, apparently. No, it's just too honest. And you just can't deal with the truth. What you're saying to me, I'm really just a religious kook pretending to make a real argument and doing it in this completely dishonest way, which should get you to hell anyway, by your own philosophy. Because you can't do anything with any honesty or integrity. And then gravity, it's just so obviously a real force. It's not some bent nothing. It's a bent something. If it's something, it's something. It's not a nothing. It's a real force. Just like all the other forces. And what does it do? It causes momentum. It causes things to move. That's the energy. And it doesn't do it with no energy. Energy makes energy. Anyway, movement makes movement. Things moving cause things to move. Just a fact of the universe. Alright. So anyway, instead of counter-arguing any of those points, any of the points being made about how, the physics is, it's loose, it's messy, it's unscientific. It doesn't have the rigorous attention to detail and focus on the truth that they claim it to be. It's a religion. And I've made an argument defending that, and your counter-argument is, shut up. You're not doing any better than that. Alright, to be honest, I only watched about 3 minutes and 33 seconds. So this is a video where the first 3 minutes and 33 seconds, if you actually play the video, I'm talking about myself getting electrocuted. I'm saying how, this guy makes good videos, the intro's a little too long, and something. There's no harsh criticisms, there's no brutal, insulting or any of that crap. So he obviously is lying, okay? So, because he couldn't figure out what the video was in 3 minutes and 33 seconds, I hadn't even started really getting to the core of the video. I was leading up to it, doing this part, and so you're just a liar. So you start your comment with just a stupid lie. It's a stupid lie, frankly. Alright, precious time I'll never get back. So that's a pretty insulting statement. Now, I didn't say that to the other guy because he had a kind of a lame, internet 1942, intro, like an intro for real morons. He just wasted, 50 seconds of everybody's life with a bunch of crap that no smart person would be interested in. I didn't make some huge rag about it, and I didn't say I can't watch your video because your intro is a waste of my life. No, I didn't say anything like that. I just said a little too much intro. But you can do this, and that's okay. You can be this kind of rude, and that's okay. You're just such a freaking hypocrite. It's so lame. Anyway, you spent all that time just moaning and complaining. So again, that's not what I spent the time doing. So that's a lie. So being insulting. No, there was no big insults in the first 3 minutes and 33 seconds. If anything, I sort of made fun of myself, in terms of being too sloppy to be able to handle 15,000 volts of electricity. So just more bullshit. being insulting and trying to be demeaning and belittling of others. So that didn't happen. I said it's really great that he does these experiments. The fact that I think their conclusions are silly is just a fact. I mean, how else do you say it? If something's silly, you're not supposed to say, oh, that's just silly. You know, I can't make any rational sense out of all this swirly crap these people believe in. Do you believe, like Fractal Woman, that the universe is all fractally and there's a little smiley face at the end? It's like little smiley faces all the way down. Is that what you believe, little silly person? You believe in little, you know, unicorns, little talking unicorns? Is that your favorite TV show, the little talking unicorn show? You know, it's trivial. It's just a fact. And so you're not allowed to say that, though. You're not allowed to point out the facts. If you actually think something smells like shit, you're not allowed to say so, you know, in his universe. Okay. You are not clever. So again, like, there's anything about these videos that where I'm attempting to be clever, like I'm attempting to hoodwink or say something to imply something that isn't true because I just want to imply it and I don't want to really say it, or if there's any of that kind of dishonesty in any of my videos. So just more bullshit. I mean, like, you haven't watched any of these videos at all. Yeah, I'd stake my life on my integrity, okay, in the sense that if you can poke a real hole in it somewhere, I'm willing to, you know, be tortured for 10,000 years. I'm willing to sign a contract, you know, if you can find some real dishonesty. But you're not going to. You're not going to agree to those terms. And can I hold you to the same standards? You're the one playing word games throughout this whole conversation, right? This whole ridicule starts with your ridicule. Oh, I can't watch your video. It's just such a waste of my time. Because you're not interested in the truth. That's why it's a waste of your time. Somebody interested in real arguments and real evidence isn't going to say that. Because obviously I'm making points that need a counter argument. And I'm asking in the sense that I'm saying, hey, I'll pay these people who think they know something about physics and are making professional style physics videos. I'll pay them $2,000 to sit there and show how I'm the fool and how I'm I'm paying them. I'm offering them money to go ahead, take your shot, make a real belittlement of me, demean me and belittle me with some kind of real evidence. See, but none of you lame asses can do that. Okay. You are not clever. You are not intelligent. So again, even critics should be able to say, well, shit, he's more intelligent, the guy that just picked up my garbage, or, you know, I don't want to belittle people doing manual labor, but I'm clearly, you know, on some scale of intelligence, I'm obviously fitting somewhere above the average, okay? And if you can't even say that, you're just, again, proving how dishonest you are. I obviously have a pretty, you know, broad knowledge base. So it would be just kind of silly to claim that you don't think I'm intelligent. I have acquired knowledge, that I've, you know, read The Origin of Species and a few other books, and that I've made myself familiar with an awful lot of physics experiments. So again, you're just showing how dishonest you are. You know, that you can't write a sentence that has any integrity in terms of why should anybody pay any attention? Why should I have any respect at all for your opinion when you're this overtly dishonest? Okay, first implying that I'm clever, you know, which I'm obviously not. There's no strategy here. There's none of that bullshit. There's just a brain who's drawn some conclusions, and he's trying to explain to the other people on Earth how he drew these conclusions and why they seem like pretty strong and pretty decisive evidence that maybe somebody should pay attention and should, you know, recognize that maybe you haven't got all of this figured out quite right. You know, that you're all driving your cars upside down in a sense because you're so, you know, you got things so wrong in terms of how you understand the world. Anyway, you are just a fool who thinks he knows better, who thinks he can argue better, who sincerely thinks the evidence is rather decisive that bent space is a nonsense, okay, that momentum is everything when it comes to energy, and there is no 1/2 mv squared nonsense, that gravity is a real force, okay, that it's happening because of a real force that in fact is connected to all the other forces because they all move the same exact speed, which is sort of a huge giveaway that if one force that causes momentum movement in the universe is moving at exactly the same speed as another force that's supposed to be moving things in the universe, that you wouldn't think this one is bent space and this one is watermelons. There's no point in that illogical deduction that it's, unless you have a tremendous amount of evidence to point out how they're fucking distinct and completely different, it wouldn't be logical to just assume them different. That they're likely the same mechanism, just a different version of the same mechanism. And the simple argument being that, light is just at a frequency, the same force at a frequency. You change the frequency of the bullets, you change what the bullets can do. It's just that simple. All right, knows better. I have some advice for you. Like I would take your advice. Yeah, not likely. I wouldn't let you babysit my goldfish. I mean, you're just such a liar. You'll lie about feeding him and petting him and telling him how swell he's doing. You'll just lie and say, oh, I did all that stuff and you didn't do any of it. Anyway, I have some fun. Spend your time in a more constructive way. So that's kind of funny. Do some research. Yeah, I've researched, and see, that's part of the claim. I mean, I'm offering real money, for somebody to point out how I'm under-researched. Like somehow I haven't found or haven't looked for the evidence. No, I'm the one that has gone out and actually dug up the evidence and shown the evidence and shown the flaws in the evidence. So again, I've played the Feynman videos, 6 or 7 times. I can play them an 8th or 9th time if you want me to, and I'll show you how. Well, if you really research this stuff, you find it's insanely flawed. They make all kinds of claims about experiments that they never conducted. You don't think that's a bad thing for science when it says something was done and they didn't really do it? You don't think that's like, ooh, that's a stinky? Yeah, that's a stinky. All right. Let's see. Spend more time in it, because do more research on the sciences before you put your thoughts down on a YouTube video. Well, again, you're not challenging me with a single argument that has anything to do with the physics argued. So there's 3 videos in the subjects playlist. What is a photon? What is energy? And what is gravity? Now, why don't you make a counter argument that has something to do with the actual things being stated instead of this mush? This insipid mush. Okay, otherwise you will just show yourself up. No, the point is I'm showing you up. I'm showing the human race to be just a bunch of lying idiots. Okay, they're all out, picking flowers in Scotland. They're not using their brain for anything but to contrive gibberish comments, to do their little nitpicky, naysay thing, because they believe something, in their heart, not because they've been able to, because they're able to articulate it in their brain. You're the one who can't make a statement in defense of what I've argued against. So go ahead, defend intros that are way too long. Let's hear the defense for that. That everybody really does like them. Just point out how intelligent people really, people who want to hear about physics and want to see physics experiments, how they really want longer intros. That would just please the hell out of them. So go ahead and explain how I'm wrong to critique long intros. It's illogical. I'm so obviously wrong. Yeah, right. Okay. Spend more time in a do more research in the sciences before, but otherwise you will just okay. Wise men are very humble. So again, what does this have to do with anything? Frankly, and what wise men are you talking about? I haven't found too many of these wise men that are supposed to be humble that are humble. You think the Dalai Lama is humble? Because he says he is? Yeah, is that the reason? A guy who wants other people to call him Your Holiness? Yeah, right. Yeah, oh yeah, he's very humble. Very humble. What a joke. They don't criticize others. So what are they wise then? How is their wisdom ever displayed if they're not pointing out the right answers versus against the wrong answers? So even that, actually type something that idiotic, that wise people don't criticize stupid people. They don't do that. They just smile and let the others find their own way. So how would you even know they were wise men then if they're not giving advice? So he says all the real smart people are totally disinterested in the fate of the universe and the world. They don't care about the human race. They don't care about productivity. They don't care about efficiency. They don't care about things being done right versus things being wrong. They love watching children running on sidewalks, and smashing their teeth, and they love that kind of stuff. They love watching failure and doing absolutely nothing about it. That's one of their favorite things for a wise person to do, is say, yes, let them harm themselves some more. Let them run with the scissors. Yeah, I can't wait. I won't say anything. I won't do anything about it. I'll just, polish my toenails because I'm wise. Wise people just polish their toenails. La 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 la. Man, are you a delusional lunatic? Man, that's just so fucking stupid. Oh. I mean, how could he write something this stupid? Okay, well, anyway. Their own way. So they let them just do it wrong. That's what wise people do. They just hands off. I won't tell you how to do it right. Fools, on the other hand, argue and try to belittle others. So I don't see fools doing any good arguing. So, in a sense, you could say you're a fool because you're arguing and belittling others with no evidence. You're just saying it. Okay, you're just implying its existence, but you're not demonstrating my crime. You're not playing a clip or, oh, look, this how outrageous this statement was. Blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a single quote in here of anything I said that's just so egregious. What a horrible thing. No, nothing. So you're the ones with no evidence. Fools just talk out of their ass. Okay, you're just making smells and noises, okay? And they're not in the category of insight. They're in the category of, biological problems. Anyway. Let's see. And belittle others. They have nothing to offer themselves, so they try to demean people's good ideas. So again, he says there's a good idea here somewhere. All right. So he says, so I hadn't even talked about the good vibration guy in any broad sense at all. So he says he watched 3 minutes and 33 seconds. So obviously he was lying, right? Because all I had said was a positive thing. In the first 3 minutes and 33 seconds, all I had said was pretty much a positive thing. It's great that he does these experiments. I don't believe his theory is correct. I said that. Now that's not terribly outrageous, right? Okay, is trying to expand his knowledge and understanding. And where did I say he's trying to do anything counter to that? Nowhere. Like I said, the first 3 minutes I was saying it's great that he does these experiments. Did I say something other than it's great that he does these experiments? No, that's exactly what I said. Okay, I applaud him for that. At least he's trying. And again, where did I say anything negative? So again, you're just such a liar. Okay, it just wasn't in the first 3 minutes and 33 seconds. You would not get the impression that, well, I have a counter theory now. I'm going to explain how what he's doing is kind of obvious. I mean, there's nothing terribly magical about the fact that you stick an insulator between, a voltage, and you can, move the voltage around the insulator. It's not very challenging. And like I said, if he had his poles the way he knows it works, I mean, he knows it works this way. He knows you can put them this far apart and get a spark gap. And so he already knows that he can't stick the glass in then and bend it. So he knows this isn't that mysterious. It's just it was interesting looking. Sure, it's interesting looking. Did I say something otherwise? No. Anyway, I applaud him for that. At least he is trying. You, on the other hand, have nothing to offer apart from a deluded belief system. So again, it's no quotes. He won't tell me what the deluded belief is. So I wonder, does Good Vibrations guy believe in bent space? I don't know. Does he believe in time dilation? Does he believe all of the conventional beliefs? Oh, I don't think he does, actually. So what is your argument? He's allowed to be a dissident, but I'm not. Oh, that's your argument. Oh, okay. Because his dissidence is in the silly category. Because he's making physics even sillier, he's okay. Because he's turning it into a girly physics. Ken Wheeler nonsense. Maybe that's all you are. It's a little Ken Wheeler sycophant. Anyway, based on assumptions made by other deluded individuals. So that's bizarre. You, on the other hand, have nothing to offer apart from deluded belief system based on assumptions made by other deluded individuals. So what other deluded individual? Could you please give me a list of the names of the people who inspired my delusions? So what other deluded individuals inspired my dissidence, my understanding at all? What key opposition person do you think I'm a byproduct of? What key figure who was against Einstein or against the Leibniz or against Einstein, Leibniz, and the other issue is wave interference, Huygens. So what anti-Huygens person do you think inspired me? Oh, yeah, you won't find that either. That's right. Because I know the actual history. I was the actual student sitting in the classroom watching them draw the funny little picture of a photon, and I just knew that can't be the right answer. It's just too silly. Because I knew the elemental universe, there's just no way the elemental universe is full of gremlins and little homunculuses and, the mechanisms far more complicated than we are. I knew that now it starts off really simple and it builds, the complexity is built out of the simple parts. And that photon is smarter than I am. I couldn't do what that photon is doing, all this wavy. How the fuck would I know how to do all that crap? So I knew it was a pile of shit when I was 12. Because I wasn't as dumb as you and as gullible as you. I mean, I wasn't as susceptible to religion. And their physics is a religion. All right, anyway. Based on assumptions by other deluded individuals. I mean, it's just an amazing statement. There's no way you're going to find that other individual, frankly, who deluded me. You're not going to find it. What deluded me to your religion was the fact that your religion is silly. Okay, your physics is as silly as a Jeebus story. And it's gotten so silly. Now it's, like I said, they inserted the quantum mechanics was, they had Jesus and God, and quantum mechanics was the inserting of the Holy Ghost. I mean, it's just that silly. What the fuck is a Holy Ghost? What the hell is that? And that's what quantum mechanics is. It's a, what the fuck are you talking about? Entanglement? Come on. Earth to scientist. Oh, anyway. Do yourself a favor. Oh, I'm getting some more advice. I'm just so excited. I can't wait. Stop trying to run other people down. So again, I'm not trying to run anybody down. They're the one running me down. Like you, asshole. You're the one doing the running down shit. I'm making counter arguments, okay? Counter arguments are a necessary part of growing up. Counter arguments are, that's the definition of how you acquire intelligence, is through this process of scrutiny. Now, the fact that you will apply none and you just take whatever they say because you're too stupid to analyze anything, that's not my fault. The fault that you were unqualified at 12 years old to figure nonsense, to know the sound of nonsense, what it rang like. Well, I was. Okay, and concentrate on building up your own knowledge and understanding. So again, you haven't pointed out the huge gap in my knowledge and understanding. You're certainly not giving me any, give me a link to where you think knowledge and understanding exists. Give me the link to the video of the knowledgeable person, okay? Yeah, I'm really interested. So please provide me the link to the person you think has this thing called knowledge and understanding. I'd love to see it, love to hear it. I'll watch it, okay? And like you, I won't sit there and turn it off after 3 minutes, okay? Or have people like me, whatever that is, chasing you down with comments like this one. Yeah, this one that contains nothing, not a single shred of anything that could call reasonable evidence by any reasonable person. No reasonable person reads your comment and says, oh, I'm so convinced by his substantial arguments that he made there. He proved it so completely. The only people who would do that would be the same dupes who fall for bent space as a real answer. Like it somehow answered the question, when it just put the question off. It's just a God of the gaps bullshit. I'm going to invent some fake structure and made out of fake nothing that somehow does something. You know, a whole bunch of something, by the way. Not a little bit of something, but a whole lot of something. Anyway, be a better person. So again, I would stake anything on the fact that I am a person of much higher character than you are, or you will ever be. Okay, so if we could have that competition somewhere, I would bet it all. I'd be all in. I'd slide in. Yes, I'll even sign the torture me forever contract because I'm so certain that I don't need character lessons from a lying sack of ignorant shit like you. No way. Okay, be more knowledgeable and understanding person. So again, knowledge is the exact opposite of understanding. To tell you the truth, that's the fact. The fact is, once you become intelligent, it narrows the world. Once you know 2 + 2 is 4, you can't do anything else with it. You don't have any freedom to understand when somebody says, no, it's 3. No, it's 3.84. Yeah, no, you don't understand them. You don't have any understanding anymore because it's so obviously wrong. Okay, so those two words really don't go together. The more knowledgeable you are, the less patience and understanding you're going to have for the ignorance and the stupidity. Anyway, which starts with not insulting others. So he starts his comment with an overt insult. Your video's unwatchable, basically, right? So if I type that on somebody else's video, you'd say, good move. That's showing character. Just type that on every video you disagree with. And that says it all. Your video is unwatchable. It smells. There. I've done my job. I've overtly stated my opinion and backed it up with absolutely no evidence. I haven't pointed out why it stinks or why it sucks or anything. I just say it sucks and that's all I have to do. That's all you did here. Oh, well, of course you lied about what the content actually had in it. Okay, which starts with not insulting others, no matter how much you disagree with their ideas. So no intelligent or smart person thinks that's the way to go. And that it's even possible to somehow tell the fat person they're fat without telling them they're fat. Right? Like there's some other way to do it. Oh, you're just overly plump. They can't figure out that's the same as fat. Yeah, they can figure that out. There's no real way to say it. So there's no real way to say if science, farts. What? I should call it something else? A farticle? Come on. It's too silly. So anyway, you're the one who's going to end up on the ash heap, okay? So let's all know his name. Cameron Scotland, okay? So, has no content on his videos. I mean, they're just whatever, videos of daisies or something. So we might as well immortalize him. So no content, no argument, no anything, just a ridicule. An unsubstantiated ridicule. So playlist of garbage, and he has 3 stinking videos. River Tweed, isn't that special? So let's watch some of this brilliant content. So he's going to save the world with this. He's going to help children not have their teeth knocked out with this. He's going to fix something broken in the world with this. Oh yes, it's just amazing. This is exactly what intelligent people are always looking for. Just play some pretty music looking at a rock. Go find an interesting rock and videotape it and then play some interesting music on it. And that's exactly what the people who want to know the truth, that's right where they go. You'll get 1 million views from really brilliant people. Because that's what they're seeking. They're seeking the knowledge of the nothing. Ugh, you pathetic. Why don't you show us how you critique things in your so respectful and so perfectly worded way, where you don't commit any crimes against the poor morons? I mean, just amazing. Can you, there's nobody on earth. This guy is just such a phony, to pretend that there's some way, there's real things at stake in this world. And, all of it's, you haven't heard of the thing called idiocracy that's throwing, plastic bags in that stream, dumping their sewage into that stream. You don't know that that's what the real world is doing. And, if you're going to stop that kind of thing, you're not going to stop it by just saying, well, I just mind my own business and watch my little stream videos. God. So anyway, so let's all piss on it. In the future, this is a guy to piss on. Everybody go to Scotland and piss on this fucker's grave. Right? Because these are the people stopping anything from ever getting fixed. This is the shit that just stops the progress. Is all these fucking naysayers. They're just on the bandwagon. They don't care if the bandwagon's going right off a cliff. They don't care where it's going because they're playing their banjo, and it seems like the other people are saying, great, oh, I just love it. Seems to them anyway. They seem to think they have all this, they have all this value to the world, except nobody could ever articulate exactly what it is. He minded his own business very well. Yeah, isn't that a great thing to have on your fucking tombstone? Ugh. So anyway. God, you people are so lame. You're so gutless, ballless cowards. I mean, could one of you make a real physics argument? Again, you can't post me a link to the better explanation of gravity than mine, or the better explanation of momentum than mine, or the better explanation of the two-slit phenomenon than mine. The one that gets more right answers than my explanation. Yeah, you can't do that, can you? But you can talk shit. And that's all you got, is shit talking. In defense of a silly, stupid fucking religion. Ugh. Alright, well, anyway, the good vibrations guy did throw this crap in. So this is just more blah, 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 blah. These people are just living for these fake gods. Marconi equals Tesla. So I don't know why he has an equals. It does say that. Marconi equals. Tesla was later awarded the radio patent. Well, we know what a court does, is all chicanery, so that doesn't mean too much. What's the guts of the real patent? Okay, I mean, this whole thing goes from Hertz to I never remember the English guy. Lord something. It's a short name, like 6 letters, starts with an L, I think. What the hell was his name? Anyway, Hodge. Maybe that was it. Hodge? Okay, that might be a good guess. Anyway, I mean, who really invented the receiver. I mean, that was the key thing, was when they figured out, you put these little wires on top of a crystal, and it creates a variable resistor, essentially, and then that can, change the impedance of your coil and blah, 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 and that's how you tune in the frequency, right, is to create the harmonic oscillator. So that was the real key. Tesla was still doing, the whole Franklin Who thing. He was still doing the, I'll just shoot so much energy at it that I can receive all the stations. I'll just collect the electrical impulse. I won't bother because I'm going to send a signal so much stronger than all the others that I don't have to tune it in. And the real key to radio was the receiver. I mean, if you're going to say the receiver doesn't matter, that all the technology that made it possible to filter one frequency out of a whole bunch of frequencies don't matter, then you might as well give the patent to Hertz, because he really invented it. So, there's no other logic here. Okay, if you're going to give the telecommunications, a patent to somebody, you give it to Hertz. And then you have to give it back to Maxwell in a sense, because Maxwell inspired Hertz. But anyway, so I said actually discovered and demonstrated before Marconi. So I'm saying, if you got some evidence of that, let me see it. Okay, so I'll read what he said here. Tesla later awarded the patent, which he actually discovered and demonstrated before Marconi began working on radio. So, no, the argument is that anybody, Hertz could have argued. Maxwell was essentially arguing for the fact that you could send this energy and receive it at a distance, and in a sense, it was like receiving light at a distance. So that wasn't a big hello kind of statement, and the argument was is sort of like maybe this light you could see at a much further distance because you could tune it in. So I'm just saying he opened all these doors, and to say somebody else wrote a paragraph and said I'm declaring ownership of all technology related to sending information through the air. I mean, that's kind of bogus, you'd have to admit. That's like reinventing the round wheel. Come on. That's not an invention. So I point out, actually discovered and demonstrated before Marconi. So I said, do you actually have a factual reference? Radio is about long-range reception. So the real key to the whole idea of making this stuff work was the idea that it's sending it across the ocean or sending it miles away. I mean, that's what makes the thing valuable. It has no value if you can't send it a distance. Okay, so Tesla didn't demonstrate any capacity to do distance because Tesla was completely obsessed with just sending a huge amount of. He did everything like big on transmission, really weak on reception. So anyway, Marconi's receiver was far better than anything Tesla developed. So that's the whole thing. Marconi had the Hodge crystal thing, okay, and that made all the difference. That's the receiver. The receiver is the game. Okay, without the receiver, the whole thing is a piece of shit. It doesn't mean anything. The receiver has to take the tiny weak signal and pull it out of all the noise. Alright, so anyway, I'm just making the point. So then he says, Tesla demonstrated his remote control boat in New York years before Marconi began developing long-range systems. Right, and that's just showing a big transformer. So what Tesla was doing was, look, I made a transformer except the coils are separated by a bigger distance. So yeah, this voltage is really, really weak because my transformer is really huge, in terms of distance. But that's all he was really doing. He wasn't tuning to a frequency. All right. So he was just flooding, just creating a signal so much louder than all the noise that he could detect that signal. But it really wasn't radio in any sense because he wasn't doing the AM thing or the FM thing. He wasn't doing the I'm gonna pull one frequency out of the noise. All right. The concept of the patent filing by both men at the same time was for tuned frequency broadcast and reception. So that's the point. The fact is show me Tesla's tuner. Okay. Look, the whole thing was Marconi put it all in a black box that he wouldn't let anybody see because it was just Hodge's idea inside the black box. But he had a black box and he was demonstrating he could do this over miles of distance. So that was, in my opinion, the key point is when he demonstrated, look, I can do it from 2 rooftops, and then he did it from the ocean to an island or something, and that was the biggie. Tesla didn't do any of that. Okay, they both filed patents. J.P. Morgan dumped Tesla, well, for damn good reason, right? Because J.P. Morgan had already paid him to do this thing, and all Tesla wanted to do was this power thing. I mean, Morgan wasn't paying him to do this, I'm going to send electricity to France thing. He was being paid to basically develop this telecommunication thing. Okay, and took Marconi because of Wardcliffe. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, it's kind of, a legitimate complaint that Morgan had that he pissed away $3 million in, those days on, something that just burns holes in the ground. Okay, and Morgan's money brought the patent rights for Marconi and himself. Well, whatever. I don't know how much of it Morgan ever owned, but whatever. That's part of the history I'm not sure is correct at all. Marconi's receiver was far better than anything Tesla developed. So that's the last thing I said, and he didn't respond to that. So again, you'll have to show me the patent of Tesla's receiver because that's where I think Tesla fell far short. But whatever. So yeah, moving on. think we're moving on. All right. Turns out we did move on. All right. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this, just to inspire the subject. So he just goes on as a typical video. He just kind of says the same things like 3 or 4 times over, just slightly differently. So this is the 4th version of the same stuff.
It's very simple. It's like for kids trying to study at night when there's, you can't see anything, there's no power. So how do you study it?
Okay, so this was kind of an obvious thing, where it's just like how a clock works, with the weights, and you just pull the weights and then it works for, 2 days, and then you pull the weights again, so it works for 2 days. So you can get a little bit of energy out of dropping a heavy weight, not real news. Yeah, we all know about that.
You can't be buying batteries all the time and for LED lights, so, kids can study at night.
No.
And it's ingenious,
So he thinks this is a big thing in underprivileged countries where they're sitting there with their rock, turning a little wheel, as it falls, and having lights so they can read their, how to eat mud book.
You don't need batteries. All you have to do is like every 10 minutes you need to lift the rope back up.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize it was that little. So that's sort of an aside. So he's basically arguing for free energy here, saying he didn't think when he was younger and smarter that free energy was possible, but now he thinks so, because whatever, Jeff Amico says so. And again, it's all free in the sense that it's just how you can access it. The energy exists in things, and the energy is just in the form of potential movement. So you can have systems and you can break them and you release the potential, the energy that was stuck inside of them holding together. And the trick is how does the energy get locked inside of things? And so that's sort of what I would like to just do a quick thing on.
Now, as stupid human beings that we are, even here in the year 2021, they don't generate power, they manifest it, and they manifest it.
So again, this whole thing is that they manifest it. So he's basically saying you're not exchanging movement for movement. So, a water wheel isn't just converting the movement of the water into the movement of the wheel. When, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
By means of creating ether torsion. And that ether torsion.
So ether torsion, but whatever. The whole point is you can follow the movement. It's always just about movement. You have to move something to move something to move something, and it's just about moving things. And you're saying, well, the real key thing to electricity is that you're using the movement of the wheel going this way into movement in a wire, and it's really that simple. You're just moving electrons now instead of moving water. It's the same kind of thing, and then you're taking the water, the electrons moving, and now you're moving another wheel. I mean, the correlation is it's just so obvious that it's the same thing, that it's the movement that causes the movement that causes the movement. There's no gaps in understanding that principle. And all you've done with magnets is that you can create a very efficient way of paddling the energy, and that's it. It just creates a the magnetic field is compressible and expandable, and it gives back exactly what it takes. So it's like gravity would be incredibly frictionless. You can go into a gravitational system and you can have your acceleration increased and decreased and all kinds of things happen to you, and yet when you leave, you'll leave with exactly what you took in. You won't lose anything to those interactions. The gravity is a perfectly oiled and greased bearing, okay? And it's going to change your direction without losing any energy.
Portion, of course, manifests power, but it doesn't generate it. Generation means, look up the word, that it's spontaneously creating something. Like I could have a bunch of ingredients here.
Right, so it's just converting. So again, and then he says it's not just converting. Clearly it's converting. It's converting one form of motion into another form of motion into another form of motion. So it's just motion being converted.
You could generate
transferred. It's just transferring motion.
By doing something. It's not doing that, it's manifesting it. It's manifesting it out of the ether.
So more mush. Obviously, the ether here is doing something different than the ether here. So manifesting something out of the ether, those are just mushy words. I mean, obviously, the ether has to be in some kind of different condition to be able to manifest this thing called energy. This is going to manifest energy. This is not going to manifest any energy. I can't make a stream pop out of this. I can make a stream pop out of this. So it's obviously not just ether manifestation. There has to be some change to the ether. and the change is you're collecting motion. That's what the battery's doing. It's collecting it, putting it in little circles, creating a bunch of little eddies for all the water to be in. And then you can release, open the eddies and allow all that water pressure to escape.
No direct causal link, true causal link in the case of power generation between wind to the power it generates to nuclear to the power it generates.
So again, wind and nuclear are two really bizarrely different examples, but he just said there's no correlation between the wind moving, okay, and the propeller moving, and then the magnetic field moving, and then the flow of electrons in the wires moving. Of course there's how can you deny that correlation? It's so obvious. Huge correlation, gigantic, insanely monstrous correlation.
Generates, or to hydroelectric, or burning coal, or gasoline.
So again, we know that all of those, the correlation is that you have to sort of put the energy in the sense that you have to build the molecules with energy, okay, and now you can take back what you had to put in to build it. So you're just extracting what was put into it.
Gasoline generator, they manifest it, and that means that all.
So manifest it. I mean, they're not correlated, but they manifest. Isn't that spontaneous generation then? They're clearly correlated.
Energy generation is field torsion.
All right, so this doesn't mean much, right? Field torsion, magic fields. What kind of fields? Fields of what? So again, he doesn't even answer his own question. I mean, he's famous for saying fields of what? Fields of what, Ken?
And with the correct field geometry, which...
Yeah, correct fields of what? Geometry. Fields of magical, whatever I'm going to call it, ether. So what? How does ether make energy? How does ether make movement?
Which is an arch form, just like Nikola Tesla's AC generator. That means that free energy...
AC generator is just the wrong words to use, frankly. They're all alternating. Changing the ground, it doesn't mean anything, okay? Pulse DC is the same as AC. You're just changing where the ground is.
It's not only plausible, not only possible, it is 100% undeniable.
Blah, 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 blah. So free energy is undeniable. And whatever free is, that is free of somebody else having to put it in there. Free of, the atmosphere moving the moisture up into the clouds. No, I can't get hydro free of that. I have to find something that already has the pressure in it, and then I have to open the pressure box and let the pressure out. So, I mean, we're always going to have to steal it. Steal it by poking the cloud, But the energy was already put in by the sun. And the game is that all the atoms were made inside of high pressure, so they're full of high pressure, and that's the part to get to. That's the part that might be of interest.
And that is irrefutable.
Says you, it's irrefutable. I think it's completely refutable. Prove it. Show me. Show me some of this free energy. This energy that didn't have to be put in, and I can pull it out.
Everything from all the experts on field theory and spending a lot of time burning the wood between my ears.
Well, you got that part right. It does seem pretty woody. Wood is mostly dead, So, yes, it's mostly dead stuff between your ears.
This is not theoretical or possible. It's 100% undeniable.
Okay, you just said that, but okay, you said it twice, so now it's proven because you said it twice. Saying things twice proves them. Everybody knows that.
Energy is possible. Don't ask me what the answer is, because if I said I knew, I'd be a lying fool.
So again, what's the point of it then? What's the point? You don't have the answer, you just know it in your heart or in your blubber. You know, deep in your blubber, you know there's free stuff.
I'm not going to do that. I try to be rational, logical, and wisdom about.
I mean, it's already a demonstrated fact that it's so cheap, okay, but it's hard to get at sometimes. The box is really dangerous to open, like the nuclear box. Kind of dangerous to open that box. You got to open it carefully. So you have to spend, like, the energy's free. Somebody gave you the box, and it's free energy. But the fact is, you have to buy this radiation suit, and then you have to buy sticks and stuff to open the box, and you have to buy so much crap to be able to open the box that it's really expensive to open the box. So the energy's free, but yeah, it's really expensive if you want to open the box without dying.
Above all else. But I actually find that that reality, that undiscovered reality, which is what it is, undiscovered country. That undiscovered country, it sounds like a Star Trek. Isn't it? Undiscovered Country, the title of a Star Trek movie. That undiscovered country, absolutely fascinating. That means humanity.
Whatever. So he's absolutely fascinated by what he doesn't know. Great. So I have exactly the opposite reaction. The stuff I don't know irritates the shit out of me. It's not fascinating at all. Yeah, no.
Unless humanity destroys itself, is on the brink of free energy discovery.
It's on the brink of it. Now, what it could be on the brink of is figuring out how to do the nuclear thing in some sort of, smaller scale and get it just right. And then just make a bunch of those just right machines. Machines that are fail-safe. Little fail-safe batteries. And then it could be even cheaper. But it's never going to be free. Free just implies that somehow there's a box and you can just open it and pour the energy out and it's all fine. Everything's fine. It'll never be that free. You always, even to get the water energy, you have to create pipes to collect the water and build up the pressure, or you got to make giant reservoirs. You got to do something, and you got to build your turbines, and you got to build your hardware, and you got to build your electrical lines. So it's always going to cost you something. It's never just free. Like you stick the wire up in this, just like there's no plug. You just plug it in free. Just isn't going to happen that way. It's going to cost something. And the fact is there's places where it's really cheap, if you do it right. Yeah. I
know it's real. Absolutely everything says it. I'm not like wishing or hoping or deluding myself that it's...
So what part of it is real? The part that there's lots of energy stored inside of atoms? Well, yeah, that's true. So that's kind of free if we can do it. That there's lots of energy in clouds, lots of potential energy in the water that's in the atmosphere. Oh yeah, there's lots of potential energy there. So I mean, this is just mush talk. We know that the only place we can get the energy from is some place that has the energy, that has the capacity to move. There's movement trapped, and you just free it, like a bird going around in circles, and you let the bird out. And that's the whole point of energy, is to find places where there's lots of birds flying around, but they're all flying in circles.
It exists. I know it is.
Or squirrels running around. You can think of it lots of different ways, right? The squirrel on the treadmill, whatever. You're just looking for squirrel power. Okay? And there's places where squirrels are doing no good work, and you can put them to work. But again, you got to be careful when you let the squirrels loose, because, they could eat your house.
Because all current power generation is not generation at all. It is power manifestation.
So again, more just talk. No, it's power conversion. It's always energy conversion. You can only convert energy into another type or form or manifestation of energy. You can take the little tiny bits and you can force them to move electrons, and then you can force electrons to move other electrons. Then you can force electrons moving other electrons to move whole atoms, and then whole atoms can move other atoms, and so on and so on.
It doesn't generate the power itself. That field geometry arch form causes power to manifest.
So the field geometry arch form causes the energy to manifest. So that's a real answer of some kind. And all his little sycophant loonies think that's a real answer. Amazing.
It itself does not generate power. Someone says, well, you've got a distinction there without a difference. No, it's a distinction with a difference.
What's the difference?
Not without. Anyway, I wanted to make this video.
Yes, incoherent babble. I need to make some more money, so I got to keep making videos, because that's how you make money.
I'm spending a lot of time. And I do have a lab in the basement. I make all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's very good. I mean, you do leather work. It's good to have hobbies and such, and so yeah, it's great. But this part is just so annoying, just typical of these these people, all their secrets. They're keeping all kinds of secrets.
That's why my house is so cluttered. It's not dirty. I'm always building and constructing things.
Yes, likewise.
I got all sorts of machines behind this camera, too.
See, all sorts of machines. So it's just this vague idea. So it's all this stuff. He just implies that, but it's just sort of annoying, because you're just saying, well, this would partly show what he's doing with all this money he's rolling in, in his poor poverty, where he has every camera bought, every year a certain number of cameras are made, and he has one of all of them. And he has machines and all this stuff. But, he's just so poor.
There is a machine over there. There's a huge machine there. A bunch of machines in the basement. I love discovery and invention.
Yeah, I hate people who just go, I have a machine over there. I hate that shit. What machine doing? What do you mean a machine? It's just called machine. It has machine written on it. The machine. I mean, come on. So lame.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.
Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, alright, so now I'll do my part. Yeah. So, this is part I want to kind of get to is figuring out how this energy thing can work. And as I pointed out, you have to create a mechanism for it, so there has to be something that's moving. Now, whether you create a medium and it's full of some sort of wave compressions, there's a bunch of waves waving through space or something, so we have these things that aren't waves, or aren't made out of the ether. They're made out of something else. They're ether compressed, whatever. See, I don't even want to. It just ruins everything to even start with this nonsensical, the empty stuff has to be a something, because it just breaks everything. You get nowhere. But the point is this movement has to be in this smaller form, right? For the electron to move, there has to be something. Or if you don't believe in electrons, for the atom to move. If you don't believe in atoms, see, you just can't go anywhere with this crap. There has to be something moving it, okay? That's the real argument. It doesn't move by a magical force. It doesn't move because this over here just said the word move, and the move didn't have to be a word. It didn't have to travel to the thing and all that kind of stuff. It has to travel there. All of them are not instantaneous. It doesn't instantaneously know it has to move. All the evidence, every single piece of evidence indicates there is no instantaneous knowledge. There's no force, no anything that interacts instantaneously. So that it's actually sending something that has to travel the space. Okay, and that's where the energy is. The energy is in the stuff making the other stuff move. So, the simple argument is okay, then you can build a structure. But the key to the structure is how do I create the compression? Because if I push something, so let's just say it's little bits of energy, little bits of momentum, and here's an electron, and you're going to move the electron, but you're going to hit it with more bits coming one way than you hit it with bits going this way in the same amount of time. And the simple truth is, it's just, if you imagine them sticking and pushing, that works. If you have them bounce off, that will work also. But it's better just to, in my opinion, they stick until the opposite reaction happens, and that explains the movement. So the movement's just made on how much of this stuff is hitting something. Well, the key to that is you can't really store anything, because everything's got to move. Everything's moving in straight lines, right? So the only way you can really start to collect this stuff is you have to create some sort of way to trap energy. So, I could trap it this way. I could have stuff going this way and stuff going this way. And I could have stuff in between these two. And so these two would compress the energy. As they move towards each other, you can see how they could store the energy in the sense that the energy now hits more times. But that's going to move them out again. So it's not going to be able to create a system that could store it permanently, because it's every time you push it in, it's just going to push back out again. But if I create a system where the energy can go, the compression can go this way, right? Where if I push this way, I end up pushing this way, and I end up pushing this way, and I end up pushing this way. Well, then, okay, as I add more pressure, that is, if I push all these things into each other, you can sort of understand that I've given them a lot of energy to push back out, because now I'm compressing it into a smaller space, and these things here are going to bounce back and forth. They're going to be hitting the surfaces many more times, okay? You know, twice the distance, 4 times as many times. So lots of stored push back, you know, lots of energy to move stuff out, because I've built up lots of little impact potentials, lots of proximity. I've moved matter close, and that gives it the opportunity to push out. Now, a thing that can make this even more powerful as a mechanism is if I have 2 kinds of charges. So I have a plus charge here in the middle, and then these are little minus charges. And I have this idea that it's attracted to the middle, so it's being pulled in this direction, and it's being pushed out by this pressure. Then I can have a mechanism that means I don't have to have external pressure to keep pushing these things in, right? Because they're being pushed towards the proton. So now it doesn't just spring back. I can lock the pressure in here. And that's what the suns are doing, right? So the sun, really hot place, lots of pressure. So there's lots of force, like, you know, lots more of this stuff inside the sun. There's lots of this little force stuff. So everything is getting pushed together really strong, because there's lots of stuff on the outside to lock it in these positions. So that's where the atoms are created, is in high pressure. So now these 100 atoms that survive, you know, leaving the sun, right? Could be other atoms inside the suns, but the fact is they don't survive the pressure change. So it's like there's fish at the bottom of the ocean, and some of the fish are better than others at pressure change. So some you can bring them to the surface and they don't explode, but some explode. So there's survivable ones and unsurvivable. So there's 100 atoms that can survive outside of the high pressure. So their little mechanism is balanced. That is, the pressure being created by the fact that the electron and protons are compliant. That is, there's a, you know, you have to have an inverse force, but whatever. I don't want to get into all the color changes. Just recognize the fact that the attractive force is really made out of a push also. It's push all the way down. And it's just the absence of a push. It's all, you know, the proton is doing this to the force, you know, just making it turn, you know. So instead of pushing it by hitting it, it just turns the force. And then if the other force hits, it obviously pushes the thing. So that's the difference. But anyway, so you can understand sort of the yin-yang of it. You have a mechanism, okay, that because of the arrangement, the more energy, you can put more energy in as long as you put energy in both cases. That is, you put more attraction in, then you can have more repulsion. And so you can pump extra energy in here, you know, more and more energy, as long as you're increasing the attraction as much as you're increasing the repulsion between the electrons. And so that's what atoms are. Atoms are something that was made in high pressure. It survives out here in the real universe. And it's just there for us to just say we have all of this pressure between the electrons, okay, all this energy, you know, tons of energy. And then the energy that's attracting the proton, you know. And so it's there. There's all these little bits of energy. So the little bits are the energy. And they're all in this little proximity inside of the atom. So all you have to do is break this atom, knock a piece out of it, and you're going to release all of that pressure, okay? And, you know, now you're going to be able to do the nuclear thing. You can start extracting the pressure that was made inside of the sun. So in a sense, it's solar energy, right? All the atoms were made in the sun, so again, it's solar energy, you know. And then the other catch is you can just move the electrons this way in and out of their orbit. And as you move them in and out of their orbit, you know, they'll bang into more force and reflect it, you know. So it's back to this simple little hand trick. Move my hand away, it disappears. Move it towards you, it compresses the energy. All right, and then the other thing I wanted to say, what was the other thing? Yeah, I'm not remembering what the other thing was. Yes, so maybe we'll just leave it at that. I mean, it all starts with the movement in the force itself. The fact is the universe has evolved, so it's evolved into a lot of circumstances where the forces are trapped, okay, in circular motion, so to speak, in motion that is to trap. So all this free stuff has been trapped in atoms, mostly, right? And just because of the existence of charge. So the plus and minus charges has allowed to create objects, configurations that trap energy. And so that's what the universe is full of, is these atoms now. And the atoms have collected, through the process of gravity. That is, every time they move, they absorb a little bit of energy from the universe. They move their location. It takes time to, if I hit something with a force and it goes with the force and the new things move, this distance will be moved much less than the speed of light. And so the force essentially was slowed down by pushing something. And so that creates, so everywhere there is matter, these little traps, that they're attracted to each other because they're all absorbing a little bit of extra energy. The external energy is, the energy that they're radiating is a little bit less than the energy of the field. And so they automatically will move into each other over time. And so you see it's galaxies, and you got galaxies, and you got you have galaxies. Yeah, and then you have solar systems inside the galaxy, and then you got suns that are just a bunch of collected matter. And once you collect a whole bunch of matter on top of matter, it gets really strong pressure. So if I can get matter, layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of matter, the matter is all moving, okay, towards this side. This side is moving towards that side. And it gets to be very high pressure inside of there, because of all the built up movement that's real. Stuff really is moving, okay? So it's creating real pressure. It's real pressure inside the Earth. That's why it's molten. It's because there's high pressure. Pressure is heat, because pressure means you've put stuff closer together, which is you've created more potential to move. So, so all these boxes end up the more they collect, the more they start remaking the very pressure that created them in the first place. They go back home, essentially. But that's where all the energy is. The energy is trapped inside of them by just this circumstance of charge, meaning you have two opposite, attraction and repulsion, created by the same pushing force. One force pushing from the outside in, the other force pushing from in between the electrons out. And those two opposite forces can be in balance, and if you break the balance, you release the interior pressure of the sun's worth of energy. So the high pressure inside the sun, if we could release that pressure, it's the same as breaking an atom, because the pressure inside the atom is the same as the pressure inside the sun. Yeah, I mean, that's a vague getting around to it thing, but that's okay. It starts with this stuff moving. It starts with a field moving the speed of light, and the field is made out of real pieces of momentum, and the real pieces of momentum are simply stuck inside the atom. They're not really swirling. The electrons are just conveying pressure between each other. So the game really is it's just electrons have a repulsive force. The force gets trapped between them, and just like two ping pong paddles, just bounces back and forth. And it bounces back and forth this way, and it bounces back and forth this way, and it bounces back and forth this way. And wherever I move these things, I'll change how much back and forth pressure there is. The distance means less force. Further distance, less force. Closer distance, more force. And that's what's keeping the whole thing in check. That's stopping the electrons from moving in, because this force gets stronger between the other electrons. And so it just ends up in a balance between the pressure from the outside pushing everything together and the pressure from the inside, pushing it apart. And So the more, like I said, you can just keep adding pressure. And then you have more to release. But it's all the little bits are the real source of the energy. They're what could be, if you're going to call something energy, it's the little force bits that are the energy. And all you're doing is putting more or less of that energy in certain locations and in certain directions. Oh, my chair collapsed. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Didn't do that before. Anyway, so till the next time and such. Yeah, I think it's enough. Yeah, I think so. All right. Have a nice day. Is that helpful? Yeah. Throw it in for free. This has been a DraftScience video presentation.